The war between humans and the Velen Empire had lasted for 9 long years. Millions had died on both sides. Planets had burned. Entire fleets had turned into floating graveyards in the darkness of space. Neither side could win, and neither side could afford to lose. Empress Sarah of the Velen sat on her crystal throne and looked at the star map before her. Her violet eyes moved from one red marker to another. Each marker was a battle. Each battle was a wound that would not heal. Her empire was bleeding, and so was humanity. She was tired of war. But she was not tired enough to show weakness. The peace talks had started 3 months ago. Human diplomats came to her palace with empty smiles and careful words. They wanted the fighting to stop. Sarah wanted the same thing, but she needed something more. She needed a symbol. A sign that humanity had bent its knee to the Velen Empire. She demanded a tribute. A human male of important blood, given to her as a husband. It was an old tradition among her people. When 2 great powers made peace, they joined their bloodlines. It showed trust. It showed submission. The humans agreed that Sarah expected them to send someone important. A prince, perhaps. A famous general. A man whose face was known across the galaxy. Someone whose sacrifice would mean something. Instead, they sent Cole Parker. He arrived on a small transport ship with no guards and no ceremony. He wore a simple military uniform with no medals on his chest. He was 27 years old. His service record said he was a lieutenant commander in the Human Coalition Navy. Nothing special. Nothing remarkable. When he walked into her throne room, Sarah studied him carefully. He was tall for a human, with brown hair cut short and eyes the color of storm clouds. His face was calm. Too calm. Most beings who stood before her throne showed fear or nervousness. Cole Parker showed neither. The Velen nobles whispered to each other. They laughed behind their hands. This was the best humanity could offer. This ordinary young man. It was an insult. Sarah raised one hand and the whispers stopped. "You are Cole Parker," she said. Her voice echoed through the great hall. "The human sent to be my consort." Cole bowed his head. It was not a deep bow. It was not the bow of a slave. It was the bow of one leader greeting another. "I am," he said. His voice was steady and clear. "I come in the name of the Human Coalition to honor our agreement." "You do not seem afraid," Sarah observed. "Should I be?" A few nobles gasped at his boldness. No one spoke to the Empress this way. Sarah felt a flicker of interest behind her cold expression. "Most beings fear me," she said. "I have destroyed worlds. I have ended bloodlines that were old before your species learned to make fire." Cole met her eyes without looking away. "I have read about your victories, Empress. They are impressive, but I did not come here to be afraid. I came here to end a war." Sarah leaned back on her throne. This human was strange, different from what she had expected. She had thought he would tremble and beg. She had thought she would enjoy breaking his spirit. Now she was not so sure. "The wedding will take place tomorrow," she announced. "You will stay in the east wing of the palace until then. Guards will watch your door. Do not try to leave." Cole nodded once. "As you wish, Empress." They took him away. Sarah watched him go, her eyes never leaving his back. Something about this human bothered her. He moved like a soldier, but not like any soldier she had seen before. There was a stillness in him, a patience, like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. She shook the thought away. He was just a human, a weak, short-lived creature from a young species. Whatever secrets he carried, they could not matter. The wedding ceremony happened the next evening. The great hall was filled with nobles from across the Velen Empire. They wore their finest clothes and their sharpest jewels. They came to witness the humiliation of humanity. Cole stood at the altar in a formal black suit. The humans had sent it with him. It was simple, like everything else about him. No gold, no decorations. Just clean black fabric that fit him well. Syrah walked down the aisle in a gown made of living light. It shifted colors with every step she took. Blue, purple, silver, white. She was beautiful and terrible, like a star about to explode. She stopped beside Cole and looked down at him. She was taller than him by nearly a foot. Her skin was pale blue, and her hair was white as snow. She looked nothing like a human. She looked like a goddess from an old story. "Do you accept this union?" the priest asked Cole. "Do you give yourself to the Velen Empire and its empress?" Cole looked at Syrah. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he spoke. "I accept." "Do you, Empress Syrah, accept this human as your consort? Do you bind him to your throne and your bloodline?" Syrah smiled coldly. "I accept." The priest raised his hands. "Then it is done. Let no force in this universe break what has been joined today." The nobles clapped, but there was no joy in the sound. They were celebrating a conquest, not a marriage. To them, Cole was a trophy, a prize, a symbol of human defeat. Cole stood beside his new wife and looked out at the crowd. His face showed nothing. No anger, no shame, no fear. He simply watched and waited. That night, there was a great feast. Food and wine flowed without end. The nobles danced and laughed and made cruel jokes about humans. They asked Cole stupid questions and laughed at his answers. Through it all, Cole remained calm. He ate little. He drank less. He watched everything with those quiet gray eyes. Syrah noticed. She noticed how he studied the guards and their positions. She noticed how he counted the exits. She noticed how his eyes lingered on the faces of her most powerful nobles, as if he was memorizing them. "You are very quiet," she said to him during a pause in the music. "I am learning," Cole replied. "Learning what?" He looked at her, and for just a moment, she saw something dangerous in his eyes. Something old and sharp and patient. "Everything," he said. The feast continued. The nobles kept laughing. They did not notice the wolf sitting among them, dressed in the skin of a lamb, but Syrah noticed. And for the first time in many years, she wondered if she had made a mistake. The weeks passed slowly in the Crystal Palace of Vela Prime. Cole Parker settled into his new life as the Empress's consort. He was given fine rooms and fine clothes. Servants brought him food whenever he asked. He was treated well, but he was also watched. Guards followed him everywhere. Cameras recorded his every move. Cole did not seem to mind. He spent his days walking through the palace, looking at paintings and statues. He visited the great library and read books about Velen history. He stood on the balconies and watched the alien sky change colors as the twin suns rose and set. Most importantly, he learned. He learned the Velen language in 3 weeks. Not just the basic words, but the formal speech used by nobles and the rough slang used by soldiers. The servants were amazed. Most aliens took years to learn Velen. This human did it in days. He learned their customs and traditions. He learned which hand to use when greeting someone. He learned the meaning of different colors and clothes. He learned which foods were sacred and which were common. He made no mistakes. He never offended anyone by accident. He learned about their military. He asked questions about ships and weapons. He watched fleet movements from the palace windows. He spoke with guards about their training. He never pushed too hard, never asked too much. But slowly, piece by piece, he built a picture in his mind. Empress Syrah watched all of this through her security cameras. At first, she thought he was just curious. Humans were young and foolish. They liked to explore and learn new things. It meant nothing, but then she started to notice patterns. Cole never asked random questions. Every question had a purpose. Every conversation gave him new information. He was not just learning. He was gathering intelligence. One evening, she summoned him to her private chambers. It was the first time they had been alone since the wedding. Cole came without complaint. He stood before her and waited for her to speak. "You are not what I expected," Sira said. Cole tilted his head slightly. "What did you expect, Empress?" "A frightened animal. A political puppet. Someone who would cry and beg and make my victory taste sweet." And instead, Sira studied his face. It was a good face. Strong and honest. The kind of face that made people trust him. "Instead, I got a puzzle," she admitted. "You learn too fast. You see too much. You ask questions that make my generals nervous. Who are you really, Cole Parker?" Cole smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible. But it was the first time Sarah had seen him smile at all. "I am exactly what my file says I am. A lieutenant commander in the Human Coalition Navy. A simple officer with a simple record. I do not believe you." "That is your choice, Empress." She wanted to be angry at his boldness. She wanted to punish him for speaking to her this way. But she found herself feeling something else instead. Curiosity, interest, even a strange kind of respect. Before she could say more, alarms started screaming throughout the palace. Sira's guards burst into the room. Their faces were pale with fear. "Empress, Lord Toffin has arrived. He demands an audience. He has brought 50 of his personal warriors." Sira's expression hardened. Lord Toffin was a warlord from the outer systems. He had served her father and had never accepted her rule. He was powerful and dangerous, with an army of loyal soldiers. "What does he want?" "He says he has come to test your strength." He says, the guard hesitated. "Speak." He says a true empress would not marry an animal. He demands that you kill your human consort to prove your worth. Cole's expression did not change. He stood quietly, waiting. Sira felt cold anger rising in her chest. Toffin had been a problem for years. He questioned her orders. He ignored her laws. He spoke against her in secret. But she had never had enough reason to move against him until now. "Bring him to the throne room," she commanded. "I will meet him there." The throne room was full of tension when Sira arrived. Lord Toffin stood in the center with his warriors around him. He was a huge Velen male, nearly 7 feet tall, with muscles like twisted steel. His face was covered in battle scars. His eyes were cold and cruel. "Empress," he said, and the word sounded like an insult. "I see you have brought your pet." Cole stood beside Sira's throne. He had refused to stay in his rooms. He had refused to hide. Now he watched Lord Toffin with those quiet gray eyes. "You have made demands in my palace," Sira said, her voice ice cold. "You have insulted my consort and questioned my judgment. Give me one reason not to have you executed where you stand." Toffin laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Execute me? With what army? Your guards are weak. Your admirals are fools. And your human husband is nothing but a toy." He pointed at Cole. "Kill him now, Empress. Show your people that you are not soft. Show them that you have not forgotten what it means to be Velen." The room was silent. Everyone waited for Sira's response. But before she could speak, Cole stepped forward. "If you want me dead," he said calmly, "why not do it yourself?" Toffin stared at him. Then he laughed again. A brave little animal. "Very well. I will enjoy breaking you." He gestured to 6 of his warriors. They were the best fighters in his army. Each one had killed dozens of enemies in combat. They moved forward, surrounding Cole in a circle. Cole did not move. He stood perfectly still, his hands at his sides. The first warrior attacked. He was fast for a Velen, his claws reaching for Cole's throat. But Cole was faster. He stepped to the side, grabbed a warrior's arm and twisted. There was a horrible crack. The warrior screamed and fell. The second and third warriors attacked together. Cole ducked under their swings and struck them both in the throat. They dropped, gasping for air. The fourth warrior pulled out a knife. Cole took it from him in one smooth motion and used the handle to knock him unconscious. The fifth and sixth warriors hesitated. They had seen what this human could do. Fear crept into their eyes. Cole attacked before they could think. 2 kicks, 2 punches. 4 seconds. Both warriors were on the ground, groaning in pain. Silence filled the throne room. Cole stood in the middle of 6 fallen Velen warriors. He was not even breathing hard. There was no anger on his face, no pride. Just that same calm expression he always wore. He turned to Lord Toffin. "The Empress does not need to prove her strength to you," Cole said quietly. "But perhaps you need it to see mine." Taven's face twisted with rage and fear. He had never seen anyone fight like this. "No human, no Velen, no one. What are you?" he whispered. Cole did not answer. He simply walked back to his place beside the throne and stood there, as if nothing had happened. Sarah looked down at Lord Toffin. Her voice was steady and cold. "You have insulted my house and threatened my consort. Leave my palace. If you ever return, I will let him finish what he started." Toffin gathered his fallen warriors and fled. He did not look back. When the throne room was empty, Sarah turned to Cole. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" Cole met her eyes. For just a moment, she saw the warrior behind the calm mask. She saw the danger that lived inside this quiet human. "Some lessons cannot be taught in schools," he said. "Some lessons are paid for in blood." Sarah nodded slowly. She understood now. Her human husband was not a tribute. He was not a symbol of weakness. He was something much more dangerous. And for the first time since their wedding, she was glad he was on her side. 8 months of peace passed between humans and the Velen Empire. Trade routes opened. Prisoners were exchanged. The wounds of war slowly began to heal. For the first time in a decade, people on both sides dared to hope for a better future. Then the Hollow came. They attacked without warning. One day, the outer colonies were sending normal reports. The next day, they went silent. When the Velen fleet arrived to investigate, they found only death. The Hollow were not like any enemy the galaxy had seen before. They were machines, but not like normal machines. They did not build ships or weapons. They became ships and weapons. Millions of tiny metal creatures joined together to form giant vessels. They moved through space like swarms of insects, eating everything in their path. Worse still, they learned. Every battle taught them new tactics. Every weapon used against them was studied and countered. They adapted faster than any enemy could plan. The first Velen fleet to face them lost 30 ships in 2 hours. The second fleet lost 50. The third fleet retreated before the battle even began. Empress Sarah watched the reports come in, and for the first time in her reign, she felt true fear. "They are heading for the human colonies next," Admiral Vaughn reported. He was her most trusted military advisor, a veteran of 100 battles. Even he looked scared. "If they reach the core systems, nothing will stop them." "What do our scientists say?" "They have no answers, Empress. The Hollow are unlike anything in our records. We do not know where they came from or what they want." Sarah closed her eyes. The piece she had built was falling apart. Her empire was in danger, and she had no idea how to fight back. That night, Cole came to her war room. He had not been invited, but no one tried to stop him. After what happened with Lord Toffin, her guards treated him with careful respect. "I want to help," he said simply. Sarah looked at him with tired eyes. "This is not your war, human. Your people have not been attacked yet. They will be. And even if they were not, I made vows to you and your empire. Your enemies are my enemies now." She wanted to argue with him. She wanted to tell him that he was just a consort, a symbol, nothing more. But she remembered how he had fought in the throne room. She remembered the intelligence in his eyes. "What do you know about the Hollow?" she asked. Cole was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, harder, more serious. "More than I should." Sira straightened in her chair. "Explain." "Before I was sent here, I spent 4 years in the outer reach, the dark space beyond your borders and ours. We were tracking something that had destroyed 3 exploration ships without leaving survivors. The Hollow? We did not know their name then. We just called them the Swarm. My team and I followed them for years. We learned their patterns. We studied how they think. We found their weaknesses." Sira stood up. Her heart was beating faster now. Why did no one tell us about this? Why was this information not shared? Because officially, those missions never happened. The human coalition did not want to start a panic. They classified everything and buried the reports. Cole paused. "But the knowledge is still in my head, and I think it might save us." Admiral Vaughn had been listening from the corner of the room. He stepped forward now, his face dark with suspicion. "Why should we trust you? You are a human. For all we know, you are a spy sent to weaken us from within." Cole turned to face him. There was no anger in his expression, just patience. "If I wanted to weaken your empire, I would let the Hollow destroy you. I would stay silent and watch your worlds burn. Instead, I'm offering to help." He looked back at Sira. "The choice is yours, Empress. Trust me or not. But make it quickly. Every hour we waste, the Hollow grows stronger." Sira made her decision in that moment. She did not fully trust Cole Parker. She was not sure she ever would. But she believed him. She believed that he wanted to fight. And right now, she needed every fighter she could get. "Request permission to address the War Council," she said. "Tell them what you know." The War Council met the next morning. 20 of the highest-ranking military officers in the Velen Empire gathered around the holographic battle map. They stared at Cole with a mixture of doubt and curiosity. Cole did not waste time with greetings or pleasantries. He walked straight to the map and began to speak. "You are fighting the Hollow the wrong way," he said. "You are using direct engagements, superior numbers, and orbital bombardments. These tactics worked against humans. They will not work against the Swarm." Admiral Vaughn scoffed. "And you know better than our greatest generals?" "In this case, yes." Cole pointed to the map. "The Hollow are not a traditional enemy. They do not have admirals or generals. They do not make plans. They are a hive mind. Every unit is connected to a central intelligence that processes information and sends commands." He highlighted a series of points on the map. "These are their communication nodes. The signals flow from here to every drone in their fleet. It is how they adapt so quickly. When one unit learns something, they all learn it within minutes. So we destroy the nodes," one general suggested. "You cannot. They are too well protected, and they rebuild faster than you can destroy them. But you can disrupt them. Block the signals. Jam the communications. Without the connection to the hive mind, the individual units become slow and predictable." The council was silent. They were listening now. Cole continued. "The second weakness is their learning system. They adapt based on data. If you give them false data, they adapt in the wrong direction. Tricks and deception work better than direct force." Admiral Vaughn shook his head. "This is madness. We cannot win a war with tricks. You cannot win a war without them." Cole turned to face the Admiral directly. "The humans learned this lesson a long time ago. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the oldest or the wisest. But we survive because we are clever. We fight smart, not hard. He looked at Sierra. Give me a fleet. Let me show you what humans can do. The room erupted in angry voices. Give command to a human? Impossible. Insulting. Dangerous. But Sierra raised her hand, and the voices stopped. She looked at her husband. This quiet man who had surprised her again and again. This human who had defeated 6 warriors with his bare hands. This stranger who claimed to have hunted the Hollow in the darkness of space. You will have your fleet, she said. Prove to me that I have not made a mistake. Cole bowed his head. It was the same bow he had given her on the day they met. Respectful, but not servile. The bow of an equal. I will, he promised. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the Hollow continued to spread, unaware that a new enemy had just entered the war. An enemy they had never faced before. A human. Empress Sierra's decision to give Cole command of a fleet shook the empire to its foundation. Nobles protested in the streets. Admirals threatened to resign. The news spread across every world and station like wildfire. A human leading Velen ships? It was unthinkable. It was humiliating. It was madness. But Sierra did not back down. She stood before her council and spoke with iron in her voice. He will lead, or we will fall. The Hollow do not care about our pride. They do not care about our traditions. They only care about destruction. If Cole Parker can stop them, I will give him everything he needs. The council went silent. They knew she was right. They hated it, but they knew. Cole did not ask for the biggest fleet or the finest ships. Instead, he requested permission to choose his own crew. Sierra agreed that his choices surprised everyone. He picked pilots who had been removed from service for breaking rules. He picked engineers who had been fired for trying new ideas. He picked soldiers who had been forgotten in distant outposts. He gathered humans and Velen together, mixing them into something new. His second in command was a Velen woman named Nira. She had been a captain once, but she had lost her rank after disobeying orders to save civilians. The military had punished her for showing mercy. Cole found her record and called her to his ship. Why me? She asked when she met him. I am disgraced. My name is mud in every officer's club in the Empire. Because you cared more about people than about orders, Cole replied. That is exactly what I need. Nira studied him with her sharp golden eyes. The others say you are dangerous. They say you are not what you appear to be. They are right. And what are you, really? Cole smiled slightly. Someone who wants to win this war. Is that enough for you? Nira thought for a moment. Then she nodded. It is enough. The fleet trained for 6 weeks. Cole pushed them harder than any commander they had known. He taught them tactics that no academy had ever covered. Guerrilla warfare. Psychological tricks. How to fight an enemy that learned from every mistake. He made them run drills until they could not stand. He made them solve problems until their minds hurt. He broke down the walls between humans and Velen until they stopped seeing each other as different species and started seeing each other as teammates. Some soldiers complained. Some tried to quit. Cole let them go without anger. I only want people who want to be here, he told Nira. Fear and force make bad soldiers. Belief makes good ones. When the training was over, the fleet that remained was small but fierce. They called themselves the Ghost Fleet because they would strike without warning and disappear without trace. Their first target was Nexus Station, a supply hub that the Hollow had captured 2 weeks earlier. The station was now crawling with Hollow drones. Normal tactics would require a massive assault, costing thousands of lives. Cole had a different plan. The Ghost Fleet approached Nexus Station, using the gravity of nearby asteroids to hide their presence. They moved slowly and carefully, like hunters stalking prey. But they did not attack the station. Instead, Cole sent a small team to a communication relay 60 light minutes away. This relay connected the hollow drones at Nexus Station to their hive mind. It was how they received orders and shared information. The team planted a device on the relay. Not a bomb, but a jammer. A machine that would block all signals for exactly 5 minutes. Cole waited until everything was in place. Then he gave the order. The jammer activated. Inside Nexus Station, something strange happened. The hollow drones stopped moving. They stood frozen like statues, their metal bodies still and silent. Without the hive mind, they did not know what to do. 5 minutes. Cole had 5 minutes to change everything. His Marines hit the station like lightning. They burst through airlocks and corridors, moving with perfect coordination. They knew exactly where to go and what to do. Every step had been planned in advance. At the center of the station, they found the hollow core. This was the brain of the local swarm, a massive sphere of metal and energy. It was connected to every drone in the area. The Marines did not try to destroy it. That would have been impossible. Instead, they planted a virus, a program designed by the best human and Velen engineers together. A trick hidden inside a gift. When the 5 minutes ended, the jammer shut down. The hive mind reconnected. And the virus spread. From the bridge of his flagship, the Defiant, Cole watched the results. The hollow drones at Nexus Station started attacking each other. They tore themselves apart in confusion and rage. The virus had corrupted their commands, turning their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Within an hour, Nexus Station was clear. Not a single Ghost Fleet soldier had died. Nira stood beside Cole on the bridge. Her golden eyes were wide with shock. How did you know it would work? Cole watched the wreckage drift through space. I did not know. I hoped. That is insane. Humans have a saying. When you cannot win the game, flip the board. He turned to face her. The hollow are smarter than us. They are faster than us. They are stronger than us. But they think in straight lines. They expect their enemies to do the same. When you do something unexpected, they do not know how to react. Nira stared at him for a long moment. Your species is terrifying, she said finally. Thank you. News of the victory at Nexus Station spread across the galaxy. It was the first decisive defeat the Hollow had suffered since the war began. People who had given up hope started to believe again. More volunteers joined the Ghost Fleet, human and Velen alike. They came from every corner of civilized space. They wanted to fight alongside the human commander who had done the impossible. Cole turned no one away. He trained them all, molded them into something new. His fleet grew larger, but it never lost its spirit. They remained ghosts. They remained hunters. Over the next 6 months, the Ghost Fleet fought 23 battles. They won 21 of them. Each victory was different. Each plan was unexpected. Cole never used the same trick twice. He attacked supply lines and destroyed fuel stations. He sent false signals that led hollow fleets into ambushes. He rescued prisoners from captured worlds and turned them into fighters. He did things that no military book had ever imagined. The Hollow could not adapt fast enough. Every time they learned one trick, Cole invented 3 more. He was always one step ahead, always changing, always moving. The Empire started calling him names. The Human Ghost, the Bride's Blade, the Quiet Storm. Empress Sarah listened to the reports from her throne room. She heard the stories of impossible victories and daring rescues. She watched her people start to speak of a human with respect instead of contempt. She had married Cole Parker as a symbol of human weakness. Now he was becoming a legend. And somewhere deep in her heart, beneath the cold mask of an empress, Sarah felt something she had not expected. She felt proud of him. The war against the Hollow lasted 2 more years after the victory at Nexus Station. 2 years of blood and fire. 2 years of desperate battles and impossible choices. 2 years of Cole Parker leading the Ghost Fleet against an enemy that should have been unstoppable. He won 37 engagements. He lost only 4. Each loss haunted him. He remembered every name of every soldier who died under his command. He carried their faces in his mind like stones in his pocket. But he did not let the grief stop him. He used it to push harder, plan better, fight smarter. The Hollow were not stupid. They adapted to his tactics, learned from their defeats, and grew stronger with each battle. But Cole adapted too. He invented new tricks faster than they could counter old ones. He found weaknesses they did not know they had. Slowly, system by system, the tide began to turn. Empress Sarah followed every battle from her palace on Vela Prime. She read every report. She watched every recording. She saw her husband become something more than a man. He became a symbol, human, and Velan soldiers fought side by side under his command. They bled together. They mourned together. They celebrated together. The old hatred between their species started to fade. In its place grew something new. Respect, trust, even friendship. Sarah received letters from commanders across the fleet. They told her stories about the human consort, how he remembered the name of every soldier, how he visited the wounded in medical bays, how he shared meals with common crew members instead of eating alone in his quarters. He was not like any leader they had known. He did not rule through fear or force. He led by example. He asked nothing of his soldiers that he would not do himself. The final battle came on a cold morning in the 3rd year of the war. Intelligence reports had found the location of the Hollow Prime node. This was the central brain of the entire swarm, the heart of the hive mind. If they could destroy it, the war would end. But the Prime node was protected by the largest Hollow fleet ever assembled. Thousands of ships surrounded it like a wall of metal and death. Cole gathered his commanders on the bridge of the Defiant. They were a mixed group now. Humans and Velans stood shoulder to shoulder, their differences forgotten. "This is the moment we have been fighting for," Cole told them. "Everything we have done, every sacrifice we have made, has led to this. Today we end the Hollow threat forever." Nira stepped forward. In 2 years, she had become his most trusted officer. His friend. "The odds are not good," she said. "Their fleet is 3 times the size of ours. Since when do we care about odds?" A ripple of grim laughter passed through the room. Cole turned to the holographic display. It showed the enemy fleet and the Prime node at its center. "We cannot win a direct fight. We all know that. But we do not need to defeat their entire fleet. We just need to reach the node." He pointed to a gap in the formation. "Here, there is a weakness in their defensive pattern. It only lasts for 30 seconds every rotation, but it is enough." "Enough for what?" one of the human captains asked. "Enough for me." Silence fell over the room. Nira's golden eyes went wide. "Cole, no. You cannot be serious." "I am completely serious. A single ship, moving fast enough, can slip through that gap. The Defiant can reach the Prime node before they react. And then what? One ship against their entire fleet." Cole's gray eyes were calm and steady. "And then we end this war." The battle began 3 hours later. The Ghost Fleet attacked the Hollow formation with everything they had. It was the largest assault in the history of both species. Ships exploded like fireworks. Energy beams cut through the darkness of space. Drones swarmed like angry insects in the chaos. No one noticed the Defiant slipping away from the main fleet. Cole stood at the helm of his ship. His crew was small but loyal. They had followed him through 100 battles. They would follow him through one more. The gap in the Hollow formation appeared. 30 seconds. It was all the time they needed. The Defiant shot forward at maximum speed. Enemy ships tried to intercept, but they were too slow. The Defiant twisted and dodged, slipping through the gap like a needle through cloth, and then they were through. The prime node loomed before them. It was massive, the size of a small moon, covered in strange patterns and glowing with dark energy. This was the heart of the Hollow, the source of their power. All weapons lock on target, Cole commanded. Fire everything. The Defiant unleashed its full arsenal. Missiles shrieked toward the node. Energy beams burned through its surface. Bombs planted by boarding parties detonated deep inside its structure. The prime node screamed, not with sound, but with a wave of psychic energy that made every living being in the system shudder. The Hollow fleet stopped moving. Every drone, every ship, every weapon went still. And then the node exploded. The blast was enormous. It consumed the Defiant and everything around it in a wave of white fire. Across the battlefield, the Hollow collapsed. Without the prime node, they were nothing but empty metal. Ships fell silent. Drones drifted without purpose. The hive mind was gone. The war was over. For a long moment, no one spoke. No one moved. They stared at the space where the Defiant had been, now filled with nothing but fire and dust. Nira stood on the bridge of her rescue ship, tears streaming down her face. Cole was gone. The man who had saved them all was gone. Then a signal crackled through the communication system. Ghost Fleet, this is the Defiant. We could use a pickup. Nira's heart almost stopped. Cole? Still here. His voice was tired but alive. The explosion threw us clear. Life support is failing. We have maybe 20 minutes of air left. We are coming. Hold on. They found the Defiant drifting in the debris field. The ship was broken and dying, but the escape pods were intact. Inside the main pod, they found Cole and 7 survivors. He was badly wounded. Burns covered his arms and face. Blood soaked through his uniform. But he was breathing when they carried him into the medical bay. He opened his eyes and looked at Nira. Did we win? She laughed through her tears. Yes, you stubborn human. We won. He smiled and closed his eyes. 3 weeks later, Cole Parker returned to Villa Prime. He walked through the palace corridors slowly. His wounds were still healing. His body was weak, but he refused to be carried or to use a chair with wheels. He walked on his own feet, wearing his battle-worn armor. The entire empire had gathered to witness his return. Nobles and commoners stood side by side in the great hall. Human and Velen together, united by a war they had won together. Empress Sarah waited at the doors of the throne room. She looked at her husband, the quiet young man she had dismissed on their wedding day, the warrior who had saved 2 civilizations, the legend who had become the most famous human in the galaxy. Cole stopped before her. He did not kneel. He did not bow. He simply extended his hand in the human way of greeting. The war is over, he said. His voice was soft and tired. What happens now is your choice, not anyone else's. Sarah looked at his hand, then at his eyes. The same calm gray eyes she had seen on the day they met. Eyes that had witnessed horrors and made impossible choices. Eyes that had never looked away from what needed to be done. She took his hand. I chose poorly when I demanded a tribute, she said quietly. I should have asked for a partner. Cole's expression softened. For the first time since she had known him, she saw warmth in his eyes. Real warmth. You have won now, he said. The Velen Empire and the Human Coalition signed a permanent alliance that day. Not because of politics or fear, but because 2 species had learned to see each other as equals. Because a war had shown them what they could achieve together. And at the center of it all stood a human and an empress, holding hands in the ruins of old hatred, building something new. The galaxy would face many challenges in the years to come. New enemies would rise. Old wounds would reopen. Peace would never be permanent. But on that day, standing together in the Crystal Palace, Cole Parker and Empress Sarah proved something important. True strength was not about conquest or power. It was not about winning wars or destroying enemies. True strength was about standing beside someone. Even when the galaxy burned. It was about choosing hope over fear. It was about being human.